off, that would be fine. So, all right, we're going to go through several things today. I'm just going to share my screen, and hopefully if we have any questions, we will make sure that we get them answered for you today. So we're going to start with kind of an overview. We're going to take a look at just kind of a follow-up on the ACT. We're going to focus most of the time on Aspire preparation. We'll talk about forward preparation, the DLM, and like I had said to a couple of you, I don't know if we're going to do a climate survey. Well, now I know. So we'll get to that. All right. Thank you so much for all the time and effort after the ACT went well. And so I want to make sure that you understand that I've been talking to people, and everything down here has been good about, that went well. So I emailed out to just about everyone, I think, kind of asking for a list of how many did not test. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to follow up with those that I haven't heard from yet. But thank you very much, because I'm going to be involved in a kind of a follow-up meeting with senior leadership on how things went, and I just need to know those kinds of numbers. In Pearson Access Next, you can order makeup material. There are kits for standard time. They're just called makeup kits. If you need accommodated materials, you can call the ACT accommodations line. The makeup test date number 2, or window number 2, is March 22nd, a Tuesday. Window number 3 might prove interesting to you and may not, but April 12th, which you also know as Aspire Day. If you've got a couple, you may want to have a room for ACT. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. Then you don't have to take time out from a day that is normally an instruction day.
But Tim, that would only be like a super special circumstance, right? Like that's not, like we're not going to offer that up. Like if you blew it off on these first 2 days, here's a third opportunity.
No, I mean, that is, the state provides 3 windows. And it used to be kind of like the special makeup date. Well, now they've included that since COVID. And I'm not breathing a word of that to anyone. That's completely up to you if you want to use that date. I think Marianne is going to potentially use that at Capitol, but that makes sense for them. So just whatever makes sense for you and how that works is really the right thing. Coming up by the 29th of April is the deadline for entering the not tested reasons. If you did not find a sheet that says how to enter not tested codes, it is a nice bright pink sheet. And if you have that, great. If you don't, I can send you a copy of what it looks like, all the information, but it was included in the original shipment. That bit of information has to be uploaded by the 29th of April. I'll send a reminder that week just to say, hey, guess what? But it's pretty clear how to go through, and step by step, it takes you through how to list those students, the reasons why those students who didn't test did not test. So pretty straightforward. And if you do have any questions or concerns, please let me know and we can go through that individually. If you think about ways to improve how things went for the ACT, please let me know. I mean, other than, some of the things that happen every year, no matter what. But I know that we've got new staff on board, like the transportation coordinator. This is all new, and so he wasn't sure how it would go. Now he's got experience with that. But if there are things that we can improve, as always, please let me know. I'm definitely open to suggestions. All right, let's get into the heart of the matter, the ACT Aspire. Please don't get ahead of yourself. I know that there are things that you'd like to do and like to take care of, but let's just make sure that we're doing it in a way that makes sense and that we don't have to undo things that are already done. So Don't want you to stop doing work on this, but just let's go through this and move it forward with caution. So where we're at right now, accommodations are being uploaded through the accommodations that are in OASIS are being uploaded into Pearson Access Next right now, as well as the EL supports. Sarah is working through and has got most of this done. She will let you know when that is completed.
Can I ask a question about the EL supports?
Please.
So we put those in, correct? We put in the request. Is the criteria similar to it was for forward and forward basically said if it's an accommodation that they receive regularly in their classroom, it's acceptable. ACT basically said it's here if you want it. They didn't really have that specific criteria, just that a student received EL services. So ACT actually seemed a little bit more lenient with the accommodations. And so I'm wondering what the guidelines are for this test.
That's a great question. I would say that we have options, and that if it's something that is included that they use typically, again, closer to the forward, I'm going to connect with our friends in the former OMGE and see where they want to go. The state also has not made any real strong suggestions one way or the other. It could be a looser version of it, like the ACT.
I just saw that if you request the text to speech accommodation, that automatically gives you 300% time testing.
That's right.
And logistically for that, unless a kid is really going to use that, I'd be super cautious about a 300% time test. That means they're going to be here until probably 6 o'clock at night.
Right. And so, yes, I would be very careful with that. If you're going to do that all in the same day, if you're going to, because Aspire can be spread out into several days,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a real mess. But if that's something that the student actually needs and is required, then we need to make sure that they have that opportunity. What we found in most cases is, especially with extended time, students do not use all of it. That's not saying that all students go faster. They just get tired of testing, but many do. So, but we still offer that to them. So yes, text to speech automatically comes with that huge time addition.
And that means that the test remind me, does that mean that the test is being read to them? Is that how that text to speech works?
That means that they can click on it and it will read the text to them.
The questions.
Correct. The questions,
Okay.
the questions, the answers, the directions, those,
Everything.
yeah, I believe, except potentially the reading passages, because if it's a reading comprehension portion of the test, that would not be appropriate. So.
Gotcha. But that's all built in to their ticket.
Correct. And
Okay.
keep in mind that this is a time test, unlike the forward and unlike some of the other ones that the kids have taken in the past. And once we're online, there's a little clock in the upper corner, either right or left, I can't remember, that does show them how much time they have left. So if someone has 300% time and it's an hour-long test, they're going to see 3 hours of time that they have, and the clock will start ticking when they start. So
Tim, I have one more question related to Melanie's question.
Yep.
So all those students that get text to speech, we need to make sure to have headphones for them, but they don't need to be the ones with the microphone. Is that correct?
Correct, because there is no speaking component of this.
Okay, just making sure. I'm kind of like getting access testing and this confused. So I just wanted to double check. I just need the headphones where they can hear something.
Right. And again, I would
Okay.
rather have questions than not, because I don't want you to be, looking for stuff and not actually need it. So.
Okay, thank you.
And Tim, and Melanie, just so you know, we had kids with text to speech for the ACT, and they did read the entire thing, including the reading passages.
Okay. Great, thank you, because that's, yeah,
But I think, however, I'm gonna have to look, but I think that text-to-speech, text audio does not actually apply to ELA in Aspire. I believe it's just for math and science. Let me double check on that right now and I'll be able to speak to it. I know it's only for certain domains.
okay. Okay, so the critical piece here that what earlier I said, I don't want to get ahead of the situation is if we've got accommodations in and then you set up sessions, 2 thumbs up, that's great. However, if you set up sessions and the accommodations are not added yet, that's a much longer process to kind of make sure that the students have things in place. So what we have to do at that point is, once students are in sessions, if we need to change an IEP or accommodations or any kind of supports, we have to pull them out of every session. So that's 5 sessions, manually give them the accommodation, upload them back into that session, and then will need to reprint the ticket, assuming that the ticket has already been printed. So that's okay for 1 or 2 students, but if we've got 50 or 100 students, it would be really important to ensure that we aren't doing that for all kinds of students. So,
And real quick before we move on, I just want to confirm text-to-speech is only applicable for writing, math, and science. So
Okay.
for English and for reading, there is no text-to-speech, and that's an automatic thing. So it would be 300% extra time for those 3 domains only.
okay. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, let's move to the next question.
Sarah, what were those English, writing, and what?
No, writing, math, science.
Writing, math, and science.
So
Okay.
the English and reading portion do not allow for the text to speech.
Okay.
All right. So as you're starting to think about how to put students together, keep in mind that, I mean, really a maximum number of students per proctor would be 25. Smaller would be better. I mean, between 20 and 25 is good. But again, I know you have to think about number of staff members, number of rooms, all of those kinds of things. Also keep in mind that students who have similar accommodations should probably be placed in the same room or together. So for instance, students with text to speech, the text audio, and 300% time, it would be far better to put those students in the same room rather than have them be disrupted when other students are finished and they're not. So please keep that in mind. This is not as strict as the ACT was, where if you don't put, timing code 5 in the same room with other timing code 5s, you can negate all of the test. But this one just makes sense. So if you've got similar accommodations like time and a half, you should certainly put those in the same room. Also, as we're thinking about proctors, they have to be invited. Those of you who've been through this again know that, or before that, you know that you have to invite them into the Pearson Access Next software, and that is easier. You can do it individually, or we're going to take a look at how to import things so that you can do that in one upload and then they're all invited, making it much easier overall. So how do you get any kind of an import? So this is actually going in and how do you set up student sessions, but the same thing is going to be true for the import of the proctor, the test room supervisor names. So there are 2 ways of doing it. Actually, there's probably more than that. But when you go into ACT Aspire, you go into the student section, and then you will find a place to import, export data. And when you click on that, you can import, export a lot of things. And one of them is the student PNP and test information export. I am going to just take a moment here, stop sharing, and then actually go into the Aspire website. And I'm going to sign out of that. Hopefully I'll get there. Okay, so sign in. Of course. All right. Maybe I'll get a chance to do this. Okay, so if you go into setup and you click on import export data, you're going to the task page. You again click on import export data and start. And then you'll be asked to determine what kind of report do you want. So if you're going to create student sessions, you go to the student PNP and test information export. That will bring you up a spreadsheet with your students listed on it. If you want to upload users, the Proctor staff, go to user export. That will upload, that will give you a report that will then show you who is and who is not in your list of room supervisors. So I'm going to just take a moment. I'm going to exit this right now, and I'm going to see if I can get this to, I'm going to share the spreadsheet and what this looks like. So the student information will have the student organization, ID number, state, etc., all kinds of information here, which I've blocked out. What you will do then is simply in this spreadsheet, you can type in the English session name, the mathematics session name, the reading session name, etc. And it will, when you upload, it will automatically place those students into that session. I believe in the upcoming slide, I've suggested a way of doing this. So you can create session names as long as they are specific to your school and specific individual across the district. So for instance, if I am at East, I can just put E09 for 9th grade. And let's say we're going into it's room 2406. So I'm going to say it's in 2406 is the room number, and this is English. So I'm going to put an ENG or an E at the end. That session then can be copied to all the students that I want in that session. You could do the same thing if it's in the same room for mathematics. Maybe I put an MATH at the end of this instead of the ENG. By saving that and uploading this way, it will save you tons of time instead of having to go into the individual sessions and upload students that way. All right, I'm going to go back to the slide and see if we can keep moving.
Can I ask a quick question about the user
Yep.
upload? I just did my user upload and I included the inactive people, and everybody in my organization was inactive. So I
Yep.
would suggest you do that, include those. Can I just futz around with that spreadsheet and put in all of the information on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, if you're going to, so the very first column, I've got something called the file layout document. The very first column, it's got a U in it, and the other option is C. So the U means update. So if you're going to just say, you know, Tim has been in my school before, I'm going to update that. You can just keep a U in that very first column. And then you have to change from, I think it's active. Let's see, I've got this. If it's disabled, you want to change that to no. And then you can get rid of the inactive portion. So if somebody has been in the system since last year, it will have turned them off and not allow, it's disabled their login. You want that to be enabled. So you're going to say, is it disabled? No.
And
So
what's
that's-
the U for?
U means update. And if you've got a new staff person, you're going to put in a letter C for create.
So Tim, just
Yep.
going back real quick to your previous creating sessions,
Yep.
I always found that it was valuable to have my session names sorted well by in the ACT Aspire thing. So I like to have all of my 9th grade English first, and then it'll do my 9th grade math. So I do 09E, 09M, 09S, and then the session numbers or room numbers or whatever you want. But you are also then, and then you do 10 for 10, 10th grade. But you are also saying now that we have to have something designating it as our school.
No, you don't. You don't. As long as your system, as long as you don't name something the exact same thing as Melanie, you're good. So if you put,
And really, if you did, it's fine because we're gonna be looking under your school and not under
Right.
the district.
Okay.
So
So
use
I
a
can
convention that works for
continue to
you.
use my system and.
yes.
Yeah.
But just for those of you that are kind of new to this, keep in mind, when you look at your files, they're going to be in a certain order, and it's alphabetical order, really. So if you want all your English 9 tests together, so all of them are there, great. If you want all your room 524s together, then you want 524 to kind of be your leading thing.
Right,
So
because I
think about how
believe,
you want it grouped.
right, I believe it actually reads and sorts on the first 5 characters of that name. So if you want all your reading tests first, you put that reading indicator first. So. Okay, other questions about uploading either the student session or the usernames? All right, I am going to get back to my screen.
This is the biggest pain part.
It really is. It is. It's very time consuming. But here's one of the things I found out is that you can begin that process of creating sessions and uploading or putting them into that spreadsheet. And as long as you don't change anything where it goes, because that spreadsheet is for accommodations, supports, sessions, group numbers. If you only focus on the sessions, you will not overwrite anything on the accommodation side. So if you just do that, you can upload it when you're ready to do that.
Right, so you're saying create your sessions, figure out your rooms, put that all in the spreadsheet, name each session, and then just do that final upload when we
Right.
get the go ahead.
Yes. Yep. So I
Let
mean,
me back up 1 second for another EL question. I'm wondering, so I've got 170 on my list. I'm wondering what the process other schools are using to identify who is going to get accommodations. Are you letting students self-select? Are you asking teachers to put that information in there? Are you contacting parents? Like, how are you determining who is going to get those accommodations? None of the other schools, any of the other schools.
yep.
Our ELL staff are going to be working with students. I don't know how much parent outreach we're going to have, but realistically, it's if you give a kid time and a half and they're not going to use it, it could create real headaches for the entire room that you place them in.
Well, they'd be in an extended time room.
Exactly. And if we're expected to keep all of our instructions paced properly, that's I guess another question. Can we have kids go ahead and start the next test when they're ready for the next test? Or do we wait for the entire room? I have no problem whatsoever keeping that pace for all of the rooms that have regular standard time, because their timing to get out of the building on time is just fine. And it makes it so everybody's relaxed. Don't worry about it. You're going to get it done. But for the ones that are doing extended time, If they don't need it and they move through it, do we make them wait for the time and the 90 minutes for a 60-minute test? Do we make them wait? Or can we do individualized instruction? Here's your next ticket. And
so in the past, one of the things that we've done is we've according to the state, they've allowed us to say, if everyone in that room, that 1.5 extra time, 150% extra time, if everyone is done, let's say it's 70 minutes, that you can go on to the next, because they've all submitted it. But then we've had the state flip-flop on that and say, no, they can't. So I'm going to find out what they say we can do this year with that situation. It's I feel that there's no harm, no foul if after 75 minutes, everyone in that room is done. Why would you sit there for the remaining 15 minutes when you could be moving on?
I think he's asking not about everybody being done. I think he's asking, like, you got one kid that's done and you got 6 other kids that are still working. Can you have that one kid? Can you give that one kid his next test?
Right. My guess is no, but I will check on it.
yeah, so one of my thoughts, and this is a possibility, is I've created like a larger session for my EEN students. It's bigger than 25. It's big. It's more than one room, so that I have flexibility. So if we start 2 rooms of 9th grade extended time, and we find out that these 6 kids in this one room and these 6 kids in this other room are not using their extended time, we reshuffle. We put those 12 kids into a room, and then we let the extended time kids. So after the first test is over, you basically regroup, say, okay, you 6 and you 6, you go over to this room, and then, or switch, so that you have an extended time room where they're likely to use extended time and one where they're likely to not use extended time.
At my own, again, I think that's okay as long as you do that between tests.
Yes.
I mean, it actually is a break. I don't know if that's best practice, but it would work. And, we'll.
I'm getting a headache.
Yeah. There's just so
Sorry,
many, yeah.
I do that to people. I apologize.
I'm doing it to Melanie. I know it.
Okay. All right. So I'll dig into some of these questions and we'll get back and I'll let everyone know. Okay, so we talked about that. Test times. Those of you who have not seen this, there's a total of 285 minutes for the test. That includes the breaks. There are specific breaks built into it. And so this is the what's called standard time. Time and a half, you can figure that out, 50% more time, 150% of time. And so it gets to be an awfully long day. This is actually a greater amount of time than it is allowed for the ACT. So, all right. Sarah will let you know when she's ready. When your sessions are done, when you've done all that work and uploaded it, let her know. Let me know. That's when we'll start printing the tickets. So if you get done before spring break, that's awesome. We'll get that going right away. You'll get 1 ticket per page. So each student will have 5 tickets. The colors will be different for each content area. And please keep in mind, we've discovered that there are supply chain issues with the colored paper. So at this point, we have as much colored paper as we're going to get. We believe we have enough, but if there's if we run a little bit short, we'll let you know. Also, if you want copies of the manuals printed, let us know how many you need. So if you've got 30 people doing the room supervisor role and you want a manual for them, let us know and we're going to put into a large order to printing services and we'll have it shipped directly to you. So if you need 30, if you need 35, if you need 50, let us know and we'll get that taken care of through printing services. All right. let's see. What else we got? I'm sorry. So again, the grades 9 and 10 only, April 12th. The regular transportation will be provided, so there will be no additional early buses, etc. Please make sure you check with your food service folks so that they know that just because we have some of the school gone, grades 11 and 12, doesn't mean that everyone's gone. In fact, students will want to eat. So just touch base with them to make sure that they are fully aware of that.
Breakfast and lunch,
Yes. Yep.
because we have to break in the middle of the day. Can
Yep.
I ask, if for our accountability purposes, if a student leaves at lunch and doesn't come back to complete the afternoon, does that, are they still considered tested, or do we need to chase them down?
So it's my understanding that you have to have the ELA portion and the mathematics portion. So if they miss the science and essentially, the 10th graders, the social studies, we'll get into that. Then they miss the science, it still counts, is my understanding. So ELA, the reading, writing, and English portion, and then the mathematics, that is full participation.
No way to get all 4 of those in before lunch.
I know. I know. So, all right. There is a training site. So if you have, for those of you who have not been in on the Pearson Access Next, you can go to the training.aspire.act.org, and it's a sample. It's a sample site you can play around with to see about these reports and how things look. You will not affect what happens for your school. You can practice without there being any logistic issues. However, I do want to point out that the live site has the blue on it instead of the brown, and you've got to be very careful when you play around with ACT versus Aspire. They look identical, except at the top on that black title bar on the left-hand side, there's a little tiny Aspire, and then in the center, it will say Wisconsin Aspire and 21-22 summative spring 22 testing. So if you are in the process, for instance, of putting in ACT not tested reasons, make sure you're doing that in the ACT site, because you'll be causing yourself headaches. You'll say, why aren't the students here? If you're in the Aspire site, and vice versa. So I want you to be aware that they are so close. They look so close that it's really problematic in my world, I think. So, all right. Let me stop there and see if there are any additional questions on Aspire. I'll be getting you information as well.
Tim, this is Jeanette.
Yep. You're muted now.
Sorry. Not used to doing this on my phone. Wondering, what is everyone's timeline for their proctor training? Because our proctor training was scheduled to be this upcoming Monday, but I was wondering if we need to have those invites and sessions created and proctors assigned before we do our proctor training.
I would
know we wouldn't have-
definitely not do your proctor training before spring break. People are going to forget. I think I would not do that. That's almost a month ahead of time. Unless you're going to give them something to refer to, I kind of feel like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would not suggest you do that, because teachers are not thinking about this right now at all.
Yeah, I'd rather deal with the scramble to try to get the people that
No.
didn't come to the 3 training sessions that I offered, and just do a last minute. Yeah, no, you're not excused from testing. You're going to do the training with me one-on-one, and we're going to get you in the room. But yeah, you can't do it this far ahead. I agree with Melanie.
And it would be, I think it's going to be kind of important to have them already in the system So
Yeah.
set up as room supervisors prior to the training so that they actually can go in and
Okay.
look at something.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. And
But
I
if you
think it would
remember-
be a real stretch to get all the sessions in before this upcoming Monday anyways.
But if you remember, unless it's an active session and it doesn't become active until the test window opens, they really can't get in and look at a lot of stuff anyway. So realistically, you're showing them screenshots or talking about what it's going to look like, or using the sandbox, but you can't really show them what their sessions are because it's not active to them. It's not a live session until the testing window opens.
I mean, one of the things you could do is just ensure that they actually can log in. And that doesn't take very much, so.
And I think I'm gonna do what I did for ACT. Instead of holding in-person mandatory trainings, I'm sending out, I'm doing some slides, like a training slides. And then I'll hold just some Q&A sessions where I'm gonna expect them to go through the slides, and if they have questions, they can come during a Q&A time, but I'm not gonna do those in-person trainings like I have in the past.
Got
I
it.
feel-
That's a good idea.
I just feel like they're
Um,
not, they don't listen, and they forget. And so if they have the slides, they can refer to them and then come with questions.
Right.
Okay, and then my other question was, the last time that I recall doing Aspire was when we had Chromebook carts all over the place and we weren't one-to-one yet. Has anyone thought about what the plan is? Like if kids don't have their Chromebook or they forget, or I'm just really worried about that.
Last year, we just had some loners. We had loners out in a common area in the Ash Street entrance. And our librarian kind of manned that. If a kid forgot their Chromebook, she came and they got a loaner.
Do you guys have loners this year?
I mean, we have a few, but we didn't really,
We don't
last year, we
have
didn't,
any.
last year, I mean, we didn't really have a whole lot. You don't have any? Zero?
No. Zero.
Well, I would contact, you got to get some. You're going to need
Oh,
some for this.
Okay,
Yeah, you can 15 to 20.
okay.
I would
I'll
say
talk to our
probably
LMTS
fine.
about it.
Okay. Anything else?
Are kids just out of luck if they forget a Chromebook at East? They don't get a loaner for the day?
That's correct. We've went through all of our loaners and then they've all gotten like lost or damaged. And so we have to pay out of our school budget to continue to try to get more every time. Or charge the kid and give them a new one. And it's not working out well.
Yeah, these are all issues that absolutely critical to figure out. And unfortunately, given the situation where we're in, it's not an easy thing to do. So forward exam is going to be a little bit easier because it is only for 10th graders and it is only social studies. So you should have by this time received, someone in your building, the coordinator should have received the tickets for the 10th grade social studies. There will be, I believe, 6 students on a page, maybe it's 8, and they will each need a ticket in order to take this test. The session time, there are 2 sessions in social studies. The session time is approximately 45 minutes, although this is an untimed test. DPI suggests that it's about 45 minutes. Doesn't mean that's how long they take, but that's approximately how what they suggest. Past experiences showed that it takes at least 30 minutes per session for students. So if there are changes to accommodations or supports for these students, we've pulled stuff from OASIS again, and we put this all into the Forward software. You will have to print a new ticket in many cases, not all cases. We'll let you know if that is needed. On our website for Forward, there is a how to print the ticket, short video or short instructions. Let's see, what else we got? The details. You'll have to figure out when and where you're going to give this. Different schools do it at different places, different times. I would strongly urge you not to plan on giving 10th graders anything with the forward exam on Aspire Day. It's far too much. Aspire is way too long. You're not going to get anything from students at all. So just a heads up. Make sure you also provide some professional development for your proctors here. And let's pretend you're going to do this in the social studies classes. And there is a short PowerPoint or slide deck from DPI specifically geared to the information that high school proctors would need. I think it's about 30 minutes worth of material for professional development, and that's an important thing for them to take. Because of the nature of the state standards in social studies, they have changed over the past couple of years. The test will be updated this year. So this is going to be kind of the first run on a new version of the forward exam social studies test. And then again, this is online. Students log in through their Chromebook. This time they would be using their the DRC Insight portion versus the test nav, which is what they would use for their Aspire. Please keep in mind that, again, Chromebooks need for all of this testing, Chromebooks should be updated. To update a Chromebook, you simply restart it. If students have not restarted their Chromebook since the beginning of the year, which is entirely possible, they may not have the most recent operating system and things might not work as well. So have them restart it probably a couple times just to shut it down, restart, etc. To get to these logins through to the apps, you do not log in as a student. So from the original login page, in the lower left-hand corner is the app menu. That's where you will find test nav for the Aspire and the DRC Insight for forward. All right. As you may or may not remember from last month, we talked about the fact that dynamic learning maps, which is the alternate assessment for Aspire, Forward, and ACT, is going to start on the 21st. It will go through, it's the same window as the Forward test, which goes through the 29th of April. Staff are pretty involved. I know that a couple schools that you've had high turnover in the CC teacher world. And so there are a couple staff who are doing heavy lifts and testing literally a couple dozen students. So just so you're aware of what's going on, the preparation, the professional development is underway, and they are going through the process called the first contact. It's for every student, they have to fill out a particular form. The test window opens on Monday, and they may or may not be starting that week, but please keep that in mind. And it is a test that is delivered in small, what they call testlets. So they might get 3 to 5, maybe 7 questions a day in each content area. So it is a fairly long process. So it might take the entire window in order to get some students completed. All right. If you have questions about that, please have your staff contact us. That includes Peg Moran Hussein, who is an expert on dynamic learning map. Last thing for today, the climate survey, which I had not been aware of is actually going to be going on until I just found out about it within the last week. The climate survey is going to be reminiscent of what it was in years past. So it will be coming from the Research and Innovation Department, which is the old RPEO, which is the new RPEO. And so they will be having a survey. It will be online using the Qualtrics platform. It will be again for grades 3 through 12. Students have a version, staff has a version, families have a version, and this is similar to what it was like in past years. They will be school specific. So for instance, each of the high schools will have a specific login, and we'll be working with the LMS team to put that on the pages as we've done in the past. So there'll be a link to the climate survey. The window for this is approximately mid-April. That's what I've been told. It has to get approved. The final question approval by the chiefs. The information is said to be coming out in upcoming administrative bulletins.
Do we have a percentage completion that we're targeting?
I do not know that. I'll check on that. But this is, my understanding is that, again, it is for all students. So, you know, it's not like a selected sample of students. This is,
I guess what I'm getting at is,
Yeah.
do we need to develop a plan
I know,
and set aside time for every kid, like, you know, dip into a class and say during, how long does it take to complete this?
that it's about the same length that as it's been in the past, maybe 30 minutes. I don't know.
Can we find out about how long? Because if we
Yep.
have to, I mean, if we have to set aside time in our day, or extend a class period, or call every kid down to the library, or whatever it is, we should plan for that.
Yep. I'll get this
And then
information.
is there going to be a senior survey too?
Yes, there will, and I know they're working on that as well. So I will get that information out to you ASAP.
Yeah, that senior survey, we would really push to have that done by April, because we try to tie that to our cap and gown pickup.
Yep.
And we have them sit and do it if they haven't already done it before we give them their cap and gown.
Same.
Okay. I will find out about those both and get more information to you as soon as I can this week for sure. So that's what I've got for you for today. Again, thank you for all your work. Keeping in mind, again, thank you for keeping track of the opt-outs and all that other stuff. We have office hours Monday and Wednesday, 2 to 3, and you can always contact us. So, all right, blew through all of that. I know that's a lot of stuff. If you have specific questions, I will be more than happy to spend time with you individually. But I kind of wanted to make sure that you got this big picture, and I will find out answers to a lot of the questions, hopefully all of the questions that you asked that did not get answered today. So I'm going to stop recording and